everyone, welcome back to my channel, Alexandrian Archives. My name is Mila. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. It is snowing outside. My computer's updating, so I can't do any of my usual work. So today, I am filming this video instead. This video is going to be underrated book recommendations. Let me just find my... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, there we go. Underrated books. I have a notebook because my computer's updating, so I can't use my computer. But yes, I have a couple of books. I've talked about some of these before. I do have some of them on my shelf, but I'm not going to be pulling them off. I'll just put the, book cover. I have 7 books to talk to you about, roughly. So the first book is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. Technically, this wouldn't be considered an underrated book because it's actually pretty popular. Especially, it's becoming bigger on Booktok. It is, I don't want to say romantasy. It's not romantasy. It's mainly very much fantasy with romance. And I think you experience a bit more of other romance plots between the other characters rather than the main ones in the second book. But in the first book, it didn't feel like romantasy. Romantasy is fourth wing. Romantasy is, I'd say Lightlark is more romantasy. Those are romantasy. Whereas I don't think One Dark Window should be called romantasy. I think it's fantasy with romance. So it's regular fantasy. There is a lot of emphasis on this card magic system that the author made up. So it's not our regular card magic system with Ace of Spades, King, Queen, Jack, etc, etc, etc. And if you possess a card, you have a certain power. So if you're the maiden, you have the maiden card, then you are incredibly, incredibly beautiful, but there are consequences. And it makes you incredibly, incredibly cold and literally sucks out all your, basically, humanity in exchange for this physical beauty. And it's interesting to see the cards and how sought out they are, and then you have the brutal, brutal, brutal consequences. So in this one we follow Elspeth, who has this monster inside her head she calls the Nightmare, and she has this monster, as we find out, I don't want to spoil too much, is when she touched the Nightmare card, and the nightmare sort of appeared in her head. So she's been living with that ever since. And in this book, when you hit a certain age, you become sick with the sickness. And if it turns out that you have magic after you're sick, after you get better, you are sentenced to die, essentially. Elspeth does get magic after she gets sick, but her father protects her and sends her to her uncle. So that's the whole thing. I thought it was fantastic. I know Carrie from Carrie Can Read read it and recommended it, and I devoured it and I loved it. So highly, highly recommend. I do think it's lesser known on YouTube than it is on TikTok and Bookstagram. But yeah, the next one I'm going to recommend is Athena's Child by Hannah M. Lynn. This is a Medusa and Perseus and Andromeda retelling. I think it was fantastic. As you know, I'm very picky with my Greek mythology retellings because there is a line that should not be crossed, and yet so many authors cross them. And also marketing. The publishers often market the book incorrectly. It's a whole thing. I have so many gripes with it. But basically, this one follows Medusa. This does follow primarily the Roman version of the myth, where she is a priestess or a maiden who ends up in the temple of Minerva, otherwise known as Athena in the Greek world. Minerva is the Roman name, and then Neptune or Poseidon comes in, and Athena gets very angry and curses her. I thought that the way this was built was very interesting. I think she showed not only Medusa being a victim of the gods as a human, but also Perseus being a victim of not only the gods, but another human, because he essentially went to kill Medusa to save his mother from a tyrant king. That's literally and in the book, it does show him as more of a good person, you know, and just because they're heroes, just because they're men, doesn't mean they're bad people, because obviously there are bad people in Greek mythology, of course there are, but just because they're a man doesn't mean they're inherently bad. Although I am number one Theseus and Jason hater over here, I am, however, not a Perseus hater, because I think he deserved better. He was just a mama's boy, you know? So that's a whole other thing, but highly recommend this one if you, for example, liked Medusa by Natalie Haynes, or if you liked Circe by Madeline Miller, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, any of these books. We have Ithaca by Claire North, we have House of Odysseus by Claire North, we have Clytemnestra by, yeah, anyway, so if you like any of the Greek mythology retellings, I definitely recommend. She has a retelling about Persephone and Demeter coming out in July, I believe. I will post the cover up here. I do have an arc. I'm very excited. But yeah, that's Athena's Child by Hannah Emlyn. The next one I want to talk about is Mindwalker by Kate Dillon. I feel like all the sci-fi girlies need to get on this. If you want Marvel, okay, if you want a good romance that will keep you guessing and a good plot that will keep you guessing constantly, and you want it at the pace of a Marvel movie, read this book. This follows our main character, whose name I forget because it's been a while, but this book lives rent-free. Basically, she's like she has updates. So she's connected to like this computer, she's this agent, and then she is framed for something that she didn't do, and so she goes out on the run. She meets the rebels. One of the rebels is a cute guy. Also, if you follow me on my Instagram, and you follow the author, you may see me lurking in her comments, throwing shade at how all her love interests so far have been, like, named after a verb. And I don't say this to be mean. I say this as a joke, and also because it's true, because the love interest in Mindwalker is a dude named Ryder. So... I forget the other love interest in her upcoming book, but I'll post it on the screen if I remember, if I find out what it is. But yeah, I thought this was fantastic. I actually, when I read this, I was going home to my aunt's after a few hours of studying at the library, and the subway was not running between the station I was at, the station before my station, the one I was at, and the trains were not running to where I was supposed to go. They were not going past a certain station, and I need to go past a certain station to get home. So I had to take a whole detour. It was cold, I was tired, I was on edge, my phone was close to dying. It took me nearly like 2 hours to get home. I was tired. I also got yelled at, so I was in tears on top of that. So this one kept me entertained, and I am grateful for that, because I don't think I would have survived mentally for that reason. Yeah, so that's Mindwalker by Kate Dillon. The next one is Last of the Talons by Sophie Kim. I rarely see this book. I feel like I need K-pop girlies to get on this. I need K-drama girls to get on this. Like, K-drama fans, please get on this, because this is like Korean mythology. It has this like super cool assassin main character, and then she steals something from the Dokkaebi temple, and he catches her, and then he brings her to like his realm, and then it's enemies to lovers, like knife to the throat. Okay, it's real enemies to lovers. Okay, I'm telling you right now, the K-drama girlies need to get on this. TikTok will eat this up so fast, and yet y'all are not eating it up. What is wrong with you? Last of the Talons by Sophie. The next one is the Book of Gothel by Mary McMine. I actually have it right there. You see the one with the little red one. So this is an interesting one. If you're a fan of Tangled, this follows the character we know as Mother Gothel, except the fact that, well, first off, she's not a gaslighting, manipulating, lady, but this follows before she became Gothel, and Gothel is actually the name of the tower that we know that Rapunzel is kept in, and is actually blocked off from the sight of men. So it's a woman-only tower. It's a refuge for women from the men. That's why they don't see it. And it's so good. It's so beautifully written. There's like a little twist at the end, and you're like, ooh, what? I devoured this book. I read it in like one day. Thank you, Orbit, by the way, for sending this to me, because I cannot shut up about this book. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so much fun. I thought it was so interesting. It's set in the small village, and basically our main girl, oh my gosh, I forget her name. I said I wasn't going to take books, but here I am. I'm going to read the back. Hailwise has always lived under the shadow of her mother, Hedda, a woman who will do anything to keep her daughter protected. For with her strange black eyes and even stranger fainting spells, Hailwise is shunned by her village, and her only solace lies in the stories her mother tells of child-stealing witches, princes in wolfskins, of an ancient tower cloaked in mist, where women will find shelter if they are brave enough to seek it. So this wolfskin actually grants the wearer the ability to see the tower, and since only men cannot see the tower, then the wolfskin will grant them this power. Continues. Then Hedda dies, and Hailwise is left unmourned. With nothing left for her and her village, she sets out to find the legendary tower her mother used to speak of, a place called Gothel, where Hailwise meets a wise woman willing to take her under her wing. But Hailwise is not the only woman to seek refuge at Gothel. It's also a haven for a girl named Rika, who carries with her a secret this church strives to keep hidden, a secret that people will kill to uncover. In the vein of Wicked, Spinning Silver, and Hild, the Book of Gothel is a dark, lush, and beautiful historical reimagining of Rapunzel, told from the witch's perspective, story of motherhood, magic, and the stories we pass down to our children. I absolutely love this one. I cannot stress this enough. Gonna leave that there for now. The next one is one I also do not shut up about. If you know me, I followed this author since before, we even got a proper title, when she pitched it as Zutara, if Katara was a dark avatar and Zuko was sent to kill her. Jade, Fire, Gold by Joan Sealed Hand. Yes, I am mentioning it again, yet again, and yes, I will once again find my copy. Oh, look at her. Look at her. On is no one. Found as a child, she has no memory of her past, only dark secrets. Magical powers that mean her imprisonment if they were discovered. When An's secret is accidentally exposed, she's sent to the Imperial Palace to wait for her fate. Alton's real name was once known throughout the Shi Empire. When his family was murdered and his birthright hijacked, he lost everything. Now with a new name and vengeance on his mind, he intends to gain it all back, even if it means entangling his very soul with dark and dangerous magic from which he might never escape. When Alton encounters An and her mysterious abilities, he sees in her a path to reclaiming the throne. Their tenuous alliance is on the verge of becoming something more when the depths of An's dark powers are awakened, and the two realize restoring the Empire might come at a far deadlier price than they could ever have imagined. Amazing, phenomenal. I need book 2 because I need it. I love this book. If you're a Zutara truther, then read this one. Okay. The next one is, I don't shut up about this book either, but Cry of the Firebird by Amy Quiverlainen. And I truly don't shut up about this book. This is Slavic folklore, mainly Russian fairy tales, Slavic folklore, Russian fairy tales, Finnish mythology, because the Finnish god of dead shows up at the beginning. Basically, our girl Anya, it's not Anya, it's Anya, just an FYI. Our main girl Anya is at the tavern, or like at a bar or whatever, and she's in like a remote village in Russia, and her grandfather is dead. She meets the god of the dead from the Finnish god of the dead, who tells her that her grandfather was actually a shaman, a mystical, I don't want to say wizard, because it's not, I don't even want to say witch, someone who could communicate with spirits and gods and everything. And basically, in this case, the shaman was someone who protected the gate between Skaski, the land of stories, and the real world. And since he has died, Anya is the next one, and she has to learn how to use her shaman magic, shaman powers, and protect the gate before bad people come through. And there's like a werewolf character, there's like a sort of vampire character, there's like a Thanatos, like a spirit of the dead character. So it's like also a mix of all these different mythologies that come together to help Anya. And I pitch this often as Six of Crows adult version, because that's really what it is. It's almost, they almost have a heist, but it's like this found family trope in the forefront, and then you have this special character. It's just so good. If you want a Shadow and Bone, but you wanted proper, conjugations of the last names and names that actually made sense, and a character that is respectful to the Russian culture, for example, an author that is respectful to the Russian culture, for example, then I highly recommend this one if you want Shadow and Bone, but make it more adult, basically. And one where the main character is more interesting than a piece of wet cardboard. Because let's be real, Book Alina, she was too flat. She was a very flat character. But yes, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments if you read any of these, or if you're planning to read any of these. I hope you enjoyed that. And like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all my socials, and I will see you in the next one. Happy reading!